Okay, we're going through our final chapter, chapter 13, some advanced PowerPoint. In Moodle, in this section, I put the lecture file, so go ahead and download that. And go ahead and enable the editing. And in this start file, we just have a small presentation. And we'll go through some of the advanced features in PowerPoint, about as advanced as it gets. Up to this point, we know PowerPoint's a presentation software to create slides with little text for talking points, and then you can add speaker notes here. So in this chapter, we pretty much make some changes to our slides and run the slideshow and show some of the presentation features that you have, as well as changing the transition. Go ahead and play this slideshow. Several ways you can do it. You can go through the menu here. I always use the buttons at the bottom. It's a slideshow button. There's also one all the way at the very, very top that starts the slideshow from the beginning. Either one of those buttons will work. Just go ahead and start it. And as you can see, it begins the presentation. And as you click the mouse, then our additional text displays for the speaker. And it also transitions to the next slide. You can press the space bar as well to move through the slides. You can use the left and right mouse arrow to left and right keyboard arrow to go back and forth through the slides. Enter moves to the next slide as well as the space bar. It moves through your presentation. And then as they move, instead of just flashing from one slide to the next, they transition with animation. Okay. So let's click on slide 1. One just the introduction slide. If we go down to 2, it talks about some information about the farm. And then if we look at slide 4, it actually talks about the working farm. So click back on slide 2, and we're actually going to make links. You can make links within your presentation to jump from one slide to another. Instead of clicking and going through all the slides, you can jump from slide 2 to slide 4. Makes it easier to present the information. So you can create a hyperlink within PowerPoint. So let's highlight actual working farm. We're going to turn that into a hyperlink to move to a different slide. So if we click on the Insert tab, you can see in the links section there's something that says hyperlink. Go ahead and click on that, and you have several options. You can link it to a file that exists on your computer. You can link it to web pages, some files that you have on your computer. We can go somewhere in the document. We can actually make the button create a new document, or even email information somewhere. In this case, I only want to just transfer and just move to slide 4. So in this case, I'll select a place in this document. And if you click that, then you get an outline of your document. You have first slide, last slide, next slide, previous, and then you have your current slides broken down. We only have 4 in this one, so it only shows 4. If you had more slides, you would see more there in that list. So go ahead and click on slide 4. and it'll give you a preview to the right-hand side of the slide we're going to transition to. And you can just go ahead and click OK there, and it'll create a link that will transfer you to the slide. So let's take a look at it. Click play from the beginning, click, or press the space bar and move and let those text populate, and then click on actual working font. If we were talking about it, we could actually click there and move directly to that slide and continue talking. Okay, you can press escape at any time to exit the slideshow, or just move through all the rest of the slides. In some cases, you may want to disable the space bar, the mouse click when you're presenting your slide, and instead allow the slide to transition automatically. If you have a timed presentation, this is always good. Anytime I do a presentation that has to be a certain amount of time, I'll time each slide, how long I should spend on each slide, because it's very easy to get sidetracked. And as they flip, I'll know that I'm staying on track. So it's one good way to keep your presentations at a certain time. In order to do that, if you go to the Transitions tab, and you look in the timing group, there's several options. And if you notice over here, it says advance the slide. And on mouse click is checked. So let's change this to transition after 2 seconds. So if we click the checkbox for after and push the spin box up twice, it gives me 2 seconds. And I want to disable the mouse click, so uncheck that. So then all my slides will transition automatically every 2 seconds. So we should have a 4-second presentation. But then once we've made those changes, click apply to all, so that way the timing is affected for all the slides. You can't really see anything happen here. But if we were to run the slideshow from the beginning, we will see that without touching anything, it automatically transitions to one slide to the next. Good, press escape. Another thing you can do is add buttons. So let's click on slide 3, and in this box here, I want to create a navigation button. In this case, I'll create a next or previous slide button. So to do that, you go to the Insert tab and look in the Illustrations group and go to Shapes. All the way at the bottom, you have action buttons for PowerPoint. And if you hold the mouse over, you can see what they do. The first one is an action button for back or previous. The next one is for forward or next. Then you have a beginning button, and of course an end button. And as you scroll over, we have a home button, takes you to the home slide. We have information buttons we can program, return buttons, even setting movies, things like that. So it's very useful tools here. In this case, let's do a previous button. So the very first one says back or previous. So go ahead and click there. And you can draw your button. But I just like to click and then make changes to the button. So if you just click once, then it comes up with, of course, the action. And of course, you can go in more detail and set it to run a program or even program your own micros. We're not going to do that in this class. We're just going to leave it as a hyperlink to the next slide, which is set as default. So just press OK there. And that's what will happen when we click the button. And then it shows us our button there. So then with this button selected, it's just like it's in a picture. We have drawing tools at the top and format. So let's just make the height and width to 0.05. I'm sorry, 0.5. 0.5 and 0.5. So then our button is there, it's just not quite as visible. And then let's drag it and center it in between this square. So once you hold the mouse over, you get the 4 pointed arrows, drag over until you can see. It's very, very hard to see on mine. But if you hold it in the center, you'll get a center line and a horizontal line, and they're intersecting in the center. That means you have the object in the center of that square. So then you can release it. And that'll set my next, my previous button. So if we play this and we're fast, you may be able to use this button, which will take you back as the slide transitions. And we can click it again and still keep going back to that slide. Okay? And if we don't mess with it, it continues on the slide. Any questions on the buttons? Okay, so then let's make another button in this box. This time we're going to make it a beginning slide button. So instead of the slideshow ending, we can click there, take us back to the beginning and start again. So do the same thing, insert shapes. Now hold the mouse to find the one that says beginning. There. And you do the same thing. You don't have to change anything minus the button you selected. You click there. The code is already there for you. If for some reason you wanted to change it, if you click the down arrow, you have all your slide options. But we're going to leave it on first slide. Click there. Change our height to 0.5 and the width to 0.5. And center it in the box. Then if we play our slideshow from the beginning and let it go, we have that link. I can go back to the slide by clicking here. And then if we get to the last one, I can click here. Oops, I went faster. Click here and go all the way back to the front of the slideshow and keep playing. Press escape there. And let's remove our timing. Go to transition and click, go back to advanced slide, click on mouse click and uncheck the 2 seconds and click apply to all. And then run our slideshow from the beginning. Once you start your slideshow, it's hard to see on this monitor, but you have special tools down here at the bottom. If you move the mouse, you can see these special tools. You can click on here to magnify and actually zoom into an area if you have a small chart. Left click, if you click it, left, you get this big box. Left click zooms in, right click zooms back out. In the middle of your slideshow, if you want to choose a slide to go to, this button here will allow you to choose a slide. If you look to the left of that, there's actually a pen tool. If you wanted to mark your slide as you're presenting, click that. There's a laser pointer, a pen, and a highlighter. Go ahead and click on the pen and notice that your mouse turns into a little pinpoint. It's hard to see on mine. And you can click and draw on your document to highlight different words. Now, this is not going to change the presentation. Once you leave the presentation, the markings are removed. Press escape to escape, and it's going to ask you if you want to keep the markings or just discard them. Just go back to it. You can also change your transitions on the slides. Click on slide 1, and if you go to the transitions tab, there's a section here. Press the more button and you have the subtitle effects, fading, drape curtains. So let's do curtains for one. Then you can even click on slide 2 and we can find, let's do the swipe. Do the swipe transition there. Then click on 3 and choose 2 more that you think might be neat. I'm going to do a split on that. And then do the windows. Then let's go back into our transitions over to the advanced slide once again. This time, change it back to 2 seconds and remove the mouse click. Then click on the button at the very top, it says play from the beginning, and look and see how your slides look with the new transitions. It automatically moves you want to. Did I apply to all? If I don't apply to all, it doesn't work. After 2 seconds, click apply to all and start it again. So try it. Here comes our first slide. There, now it's moving. And we've got, it's doing the same thing. Then we've got this one. Why does it keep doing it? It's not changing. It must not have applied. So see, once you don't, so now we got all curtains. So hit there, this is all curtains. You have to come down here. For some reason didn't save the first time, it's kind of weird. Then you get some different effects for your transition. Okay, just escape. Save your document there. Then, because there's several different versions of Microsoft PowerPoint, you can choose to convert your slideshow to a previous version of PowerPoint. That way you can make sure if you're sending it to somebody, it can work on every version of PowerPoint. So if we go to File, we can click Save As, and put mine on the desktop. Then in the Save As type, if we click here, you can see that you can choose all the way back. We can go all the way back to PowerPoint 97 through 2003. So we can click that and click Save, and then we know that we have a version that will be useful in all versions of PowerPoint. It also goes through a compatibility checker and lets you know which objects you're using that will no longer work with the previous version. As you can see, it's slide 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is all of them. So they won't be able to edit any one of those slides, and some of the transition effects might not be in the older version. So we just hit continue. And in that version, they'll only be able to look at it, won't be able to change it. But they can still look at it. Any questions on PowerPoint? I didn't learn much new. Okay, that's it. That's everything for this chapter. And you have one assignment for this chapter as well. And then we'll start working towards, we have one little exam, and then you have your midterm.